What's up, YouTube family? I'm back at you like I'm mad at you. You already know I'm absolutely thankful every time you're showing up. This video, family, I want to show you your power over your circumstances. I want to show you some of your innate abilities to overcome any of your experiences, family, in that dealing with the English language, right? Now, I'm going to refer to some things, give you some examples as far as the English language is concerned, right? When it comes to words, but it does not have to be English language. It just specifically or simply deals with your communication, right? The way you communicate with life in the world around you, right? So, finally, what I want you to think about is the significance in words themselves, right? We've all heard that words, right, have the ability to put spells, right? To put spells on a thing, right? To put spells on a thing or person or any of that. You've heard of those things when we've been taught how to spell in school, right? Spelling, right? This is very significant to everything that you've learned in school concerning the English language, family. You see what I'm saying? Many of you heard about words and spells and things like that. I want to speak on it real quick as far as how you can choose what you're going through. No matter what it looks like, God gave you the ability to choose what actually is happening. And so, in other words, he gave you ability to define your circumstances. That's very significant, family. He gave you the most high sovereign power to throw the universe, gave you the ability to define your own circumstances. No matter what they look like, you have a choice to define them, right? And so, just for example, in the very beginning, the book of Genesis, God gave the example, right? If we're the Most High's children, then the example is when the Most High, remember, God came, he saw darkness upon the deep, and he said, he verbalized, he said, let there be light, right? He spoke it, right? Spoke light, and then he started creating. There was many of creations following that speaking, right? When he said, let there be light, then it talks about how he went on to create the stars and putting the stars in place and so forth. And he spoke this thing, right? Because what are stars? Stars are light, right? In the darkness that we see in the sky, but in the dark, right? And that's what he saw. Darkness upon the deep, and said, let there be light. Now, what I want you to realize is that the scriptures, so you see the characteristics of what the Most High reflects as far as speaking things into existence, and then us being his seed, right, or the seed of the Most High, also have that ability when we become one with that intelligence. It's another scripture, before I go into another scripture that speaks on speak to the mountain and it will move and throw itself in the sea. How many of you heard of that scripture, right? Man, you family, this is non-religious. I'm just telling you how this thing works, right? These things apply and they work regardless if you go to church to the church building every Sunday or not. Long as you have the church within you, it applies and it works, okay? So when he said speak to the mountain, he told you, I want to speak on how this functions, right? So let's look at the English language now regarding the speaking and how it applies to your power over your circumstances and overcoming the world. So look at, for example, the English language, such as what we have, what is called a definition, right? To define something, or an adjective, right? Or prefixes, right? Like when you put, Mr. or Mrs. in front of a name. Okay, let's look at it, family. Just showing you, and you can go back later and look over the English language and all of those different, like what it means to use all these things, as in to extrapolate them to your own life and your own circumstances, right? You'll be able to go into all of the different examples in the English language and find different ways and different things. You like, hey, I have been doing that. So here it is so what does it mean to define a thing, right? So like, say, for example, I had times telling me, well, like say every time I looked up, it was another bill coming, right? People were, I felt like it was times where people kept having, a lot of people was asking for money, or people were asking for things, or asking for your time, or asking for this. And I just felt like, at a certain point, I'm like, man, it's that's, you want to look at it like, man, that's a lot of, demands, right? But the fact of the matter is, the way I was able to define it, and here's a way, just example to define similar situations, is that I said, you know what? That's God preparing me for all that I ask for, all that I desire. Because how can I, if I can't deal with these little things, right? Like as far as whether it's friends, family, just your peers, whatever it is, if I can't deal with these little demands, how are you going to deal with a big company, right, that you may have on your list, right? Your desired reality list. Like, how can you deal with a big company when you got to have, pay taxes, you got employees to pay, you got utilities. Say if you got a building or a skyscraper, anything dealing with your company, but you got to pay those bills, those utilities. You have to pay, you'll have lawyers calling you for different things. When y'all see how these big companies easily getting sued, right? How many times you look up, especially online, and you see it's another company getting sued, whether it's baby powder or this company or that company or insurance companies, right? It's part of business, right? It's a part of business. Every time you look up, you may have a different envelope on your desk, right? A different email, a different phone call coming in, a different bill that has to be paid, another employee that has to be paid. And so when you look at that, that's a different way of defining some of the challenges that happen in your life. When you look up, you got rent, you got this, you got that, you got your children, you got whatever it is that you got going on. And so in that way, family, I was able to define the challenges in my personal world, and I was able to define that so that it works together for me, right? So it works together for my good. Scriptures say all things work together for the good of those who love God. So instead of me looking at all these things like, damn, every time I look up, it's another bill. Every time and just leave it at that and allow life to just be like that, I was able to define it as a training ground, as preparation. And it's when I say you're defining it, family, it's not merely just something that you're delusional about in your head. You literally have the power to define what's going on. See, many things that come in front of you, you always have a choice. I'm telling you, it's a video. We'll make another video about what that means as far as having a choice. But what this means is, for now, so that to make the point is, a lot of times we're presented with a choice no matter what the circumstance look like. You got a choice to go left or right with it, but it is sure that all things work together for your good. And it's up to you what choice you make with these circumstances and situations, and what direction they go in for you or against you. See what I'm saying? And so it's not just, I'm saying it to say, it's not just some delusional thing that you're saying, man, oh, this God preparing me. No, it truly is. If you understand the way the world, works, the way life it is, right? The way things work, you'll be able to see that, okay, it's up to me to see that the things that I'm asking for, and the example that I gave y'all, it's up to me to see that the things that I've been asking for, I'm praying for, I'm working on, that this is only but prepping me for what is to come on a bigger scale. Because why would the Most High train you, right? Why would you, the first time you'll train and be in the real game, right? Some people you don't get trained in the finals. If anything, you get trained before you get to the crunch time, right? And so some of the things that, you go through, you're able to define them as to what they are, right? And that's just an example. You can extrapolate that to however you see fit. That's just one example. I was able to see, man, you know what? this is just prepping me for the bigger things to come, for the bigger things that I'm asking for, right? And so just one example. Another example is, okay, now let's look at adjectives, right? Let's look at adjectives. That's an example of how you define things, family. I was giving you an example of what it means to speak to the mountain and it'll move. So you have an opportunity to say what this is, right? Oh no, this just happening because of this or that, or and it literally would move itself. Like the scriptures say, the mountain will move, okay? And it will move in a direction for your benefit if you see it as such and define it as such, right? Okay, so that's that example of definition. We talk about the English language. Now let's look at adjectives, right? Okay, so you know how you say, okay, let's look at an adjective. You say something is hard, right? When you say something is, hard, this is a hard task, or I've had a hard day, or, when you're those adjectives seem like just schoolwork, right? At work where you're writing something out or something that needs to be written out, and it seems just like it's just regular English language being rolled out on a paper for whatever educational or a literal reason. But the fact of the matter is, it's the same way you are putting spells on yourself, and whether for good, right? For luck, right? For good, or for negative, for bad, right? So if when you say something is hard, you put that adjective on a thing, right? And I'm saying that the same thing in English language is the same way it happens in your life. You have an opportunity. I mean, you have the ability to choose what adjective you are putting on a thing, right? You can go through something or see something, and it's up to you to perceive it as whether that's tough. See, those are adjectives, whether that's huge, right? You have the opportunity to see something that's huge. So in other words, what am I saying? In different situations in life, you define a thing as being something can happen in your world, or something could be presented to you, and you have the ability to define whether that's a big deal or not. You see, the adjective is big. You have an opportunity to define whether that's a big deal or not. You see what I'm saying? Or if it's not a big deal. You see what I'm saying? It's a situation, but you have, again, two choices, whether it's just a situation, right? If it's something small, something light that you're going to get through, that you got under control, that you can handle, or you can make it a big deal. You see the adjective? So that's what I mean, family. So that's another English term, right? That has a lot to do with the spelling, right? And we're not talking about spelling as in mere writing on a paper. We're talking about spelling as in putting spells on yourself, family. You have that choice, family, with using the adjectives that you're using in defining things with, right? And circumstances as such. So that's another example. Now let's look at, for example, prefixes, right? A prefix such as Mr. or Mrs., right? These are terms that are relative to a sense of respect, right? A sense of entitlement and respect, right? So if you say, you say something, you put Mr. Jackson, or you put Mr. Campbell, or you put Mr. What is that saying? You're respecting this, speaking to this, for example, is speaking to the person as with such respect, right? Or entitlement to respect, right? To the extent, right? So in the same way, like you use Mrs. or senior, or, those things, it's in the very same way is in your life, right? You have the ability, right? And the power to choose whether you respect a situation or not. Meaning, if something is happening in your life, when I say respect it, I'm talking about whether you're accepting it, right? So this is why I say it reflects respect, but also entitlement to respect. When something like these prefixes, for example, when we talk about the English language again, and how these things put spells on you in your own life. And you don't have to use words out of your mouth. It's the way you define them in your head, right? It's the way you define them in your mind, right? So if you choose to say, see something is in respect to it, like again using Mr. or Mrs. This is connotation to and a reflection to that you are respecting and accepting this thing as such in your life. So if it's something that's or something or someone or anything that's challenging or something that you don't want in life, you don't want to respect it, right? You don't want to if you perceive it as something you have to respect, right? And so you have that choice to where you feel like you have to accept a thing. You see what I'm saying? As, well, this is what it is, putting Mr. or Mrs. or, senior, like, certain things in a sense, again, of entitlement to respect. It's almost like accepting a thing and having to respect it. You know what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's certain things that go on in your life. You have the choice to whether you think you have to accept it or not. You have to respect it. Like, man, it just is what it is. You hear people say stuff like that. It just is what it is. It's how life is. Or, you know what I mean? That's like putting Mr. on it, right? That's like putting, something that's challenging in your life and you put Mr. or Mrs. on it, on the front of it. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel like you have to respect it. It's entitled to that sort of sense of respect, like it's not going to change life. This is just how life is at the moment. It's just how it goes. It's just life is life. And, the stuff people say. So just a quick video, family. I hope you get that. And in the same way with this, with the English language, when it comes to spelling and so forth, you in the same way, this is your very power in overcoming the world and the things that you face on a regular basis. You see what I'm saying? The challenges and the situations that are presented in your life, family, you have a choice. You have a choice. You have to, don't see this. Remember, this is the Bible. This is the God stuff, Christ, and the, manifestation and truth, all on layman's term, but it's non-religious over here, because I want you to get it as in how it applies to your everyday life, regardless if you religious or not, regardless if you believe in this or that or not. These things apply to you in your everyday life. You doing it in your everyday life. You defining things, right? We gave the example how to speak to a mountain and define that situation as in something that's working for you or against you. You have the opportunity and the choice to make that mountain move or allow it to sit there, right? You have the opportunity to put and to accept the thing as in is nothing you can do about it, and you might as well just put some respect on it. You have the opportunity and the choice, right, to put adjectives on things as in how bad they can be, right, or how good a thing is, right? You have that power and choice and ability, and is reflected in this English language, family. And this is why, again, when you hear people say that words are spells and watch what words you use and so forth, I'm just giving you another extension to that perspective, okay? Not just perspective, but I'm giving you another perspective and another way of another point of understanding to that ality, because it is so that words have power in them, especially when you mean them. Because that's what really matters, family. When you mean something, and that's what a lot of this all really boils down to. Your prayers, anything you can think of, manifestation is meaning what you say, meaning what you seek, meaning when you put meaning behind a thing, right? That's another thing when you talk about the English or comprehension and reading comprehension. When you talk about meaning, you have that ability to put meaning behind a thing. You see what I'm saying? So just wanted to share that with you, family. They ain't gonna hold you long this time. You definitely have this, the same abilities reflected in the English literatures, family, like in the English language, over your own life, in that the way you define, spell, put adjectives or use prefixes in your circumstances. You know what I mean? You have that call, family. You make the call, family. Don't let it fall down. We're going to lay it down, family. You hear what I'm saying? So And that I hope that helped you. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If you have to think on what I'm saying, it'll come to you. But I hopefully it was clear. So yeah, speak to the mountain, family, as the scriptures say, and it will move. And how you do that is by you define a thing, in that you choose to see it for what you want it to be for you. If something happens, it's too late. You can't take it back now, right? It already happened. Then now you define how it's gonna go. Oh, this just is, it's a learn. Like, it's many times I done it finally myself, you know what I mean? Where it's something happened and I had to take a hit, and I was just like, you know what? It's all good. That's a lesson learned for the next time, right? I'm way more, at least I know now. I rather had done that with $20 than do it with $2,000. Just like that, family. Just that simple. Seems simple, but it's deep. I mean, it's real, family. So hopefully that helps somebody. To the next video. Peace, positivity, optimism, power, and abundance. Water.